the next color. Ashiok's Skulker, blue and 4 for a 3/5 Nightmare. Pay a blue and 3. Can't be blocked this turn. Again, limited fodder. This is not good in constructed. In limited, this card is going to end a lot of games. This is decent. It's better than a 2.5. I don't think I'm going to need a 3.5. So I think we're just going to stick with a 3 for now. It is kind of splashable, although I don't know if you'd really want to be splashing this. But, I mean, a 3/5 for 5 is decent stats. And, again, yeah, this card's going to end a lot of games, so I'm going to give it a 3 for limited. Give it a 3 for limited. No! Why can't I go to the next card? Oh no, I've ruined it. I have to do this for each one. 1 second, 1 second. I gotta go to my hotkeys. Set review. Oh no, I'm a fool. What have I done? I've ruined it. I've ruined it. Next slide. Enter previous slide. Enter. Black. Next slide. Enter previous slide. Num. Okay. Give me 1 second. All right. Perfect. Auger of Boloss. It is a 1/3 for... Oh, this is just the reprint. Auger of Boloss. Constructed. Was this really ever played in Constructed? I don't think it was. So I'm just going to give it a 1 here. In Limited. You piece of poop. You suck. You make me mad. Look at the bottom 3 cards of your library. I'm giving you a 1. It's probably closer to like a 1.5. I don't think it's unplayable, but... Oh, apparently it was paid a lot in pop or paper or constructed, and I don't even remember. Yeah, these are 0 to 5 ratings. Whatever. I'm giving it a 1 and a 1.5. This is more of a constructed card, I think, than a limited card, but I hate it enough that I'm gonna give it a bad rating. It's probably better than a 1. Yeah. All right, Aven Eternal. Blue and 2 for a 2/2 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, amass 1. Hey, that's not bad. Terrible. Well, I'm not going to say terrible, but almost certainly unplayable in constructed. But in limited, this is... 3.5 seems too good. 3.5 seems reserved for bomb plus cards, but this is just a very good blue common. Enters the battlefield, amass 1, put a 1/1 counter on an army you control. If you don't control one, then you make one. So presumably when you cast this on turn 3, it's going to be a 2/2 flyer that also makes a 1/1 zombie. Yeah, I would play any number of these. Ratings are out of 5. Bond of Insight, blue and 3. Each player puts the top 4 cards of their library into the graveyard. Return up to 2 instant and or sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand. Exile Bond of Insight. This is probably too expensive in constructed and in limited, really. You would need a lot of instants and sorceries in limited to make this thing. I think in constructed it's playable. But it doesn't seem... Again, it just seems very expensive, so I'm going to give it a 2 for constructed. Limited, again, you're going to need a lot of instants and sorceries to make this worthwhile. I'm going to give this a 1. And I don't think there's going to be a mill deck in this format, so on to the next one then. Let me add some text. 1 sec. All right, Callous Dismissal. Blue and 1 sorcery. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand and amass 1. This might actually see a teeny bit of play in Constructed. So I'm going to give it a 1.5 here. I don't think it's likely to be all that impactful, but it doesn't seem terrible. Limited, I think this is actually a fine card. Right? You bounce a creature, you make a 1/1. That seems fine. Yes, it's a sorcery, I understand, but still, this is a fine card. Leave me alone! Wow, that dump truck. That dump truck. Anyways, a fine card for limited. Honestly, you would probably play like 3 of these in limited, or at least I feel like I would. Yeah, exactly, it kills armies. Commence the Endgame Blue 4 instant, can't be countered, draw 2, then amass X, where X is the number of your cards in your hand? What the fuck? This is a little bit expensive for Constructed, but I'm gonna give this a 2.5. I think it's certainly going to be played. I don't think I'm gonna give it a 3 in Constructed, but in Limited here, this is a 4. This is a 4. This is certainly a good one. It's expensive. The draw, I mean, you're only drawing 2, so I don't know how many cards you're gonna have left when you're finally casting this, but you're at least getting a 2/2 instant speed and drawing 2 cards for 6 mana, so I'm liking this a lot. The fact it can't be countered, yeah. No, the fact that it can't be countered makes this so much better for Constructed. I think this is close to a limited bomb, and it's gonna be played in Constructed for sure. This is a nice one. Even gods shall kneel. Wow, that's a nice card. I like it. Contentious Plan, blue and 1, sorcery, proliferate, draw a card. Alright. I'm not gonna give it a bare bones rating in Constructed. In Limited, I actually like this card. I mean, I don't think it's going to be anything special. Obviously, this works with the 1/1 counters and the Planeswalkers, but I'm gonna want to build a deck, I'm sure, with 4 or like however many Contentious Plans that I can pick up. Because at the very worst, they cycle for 2 mana, sorcery speed. But then if I just end up with a deck with like 5 Planeswalkers randomly, or say enough ways to get 1/1 counters, kind of funny. Kind of funny. No, I don't think this is higher than a 1.5. It cycles, which is the nice thing about it, but I don't think this is good enough to rate any higher. So Crush Dissent, blue and 3 instant, counter target spell until its controller pays 2, and then you get to amass 2. Man, if this only had cycling. It's very expensive, so I don't think it's going to see too much play in Constructed, although it does feel like it might just be close enough to do so. Again, it's the converted mana cost of 4 total that's really making it hard to play here, I think. In Limited, this might be a 2. At the very least, you can make it an instant speed 4 mana 2/2 that your opponent knows about, right? Just because you can cast it. So even if your opponent has, like, say it's the end game and your opponent has 10 mana, they cast a 4-drop that they just drew off the top. Well, you're probably going to cast this card just to get the 4 mana 2/2, or, you know, make one of your other armies a little bit larger. So it's playable. It's just it can be awkward. We're in the end game now. Erratic Visionary. Blue and 1 for a 1/3 that loots for 2 mana. Alright, this is perfectly average. It's got a 3-butt. And looting is good. Normally with looters, I would like them to be free or even, you know, just 1 mana. But I'm gonna give it a 2.5. I don't think I'm gonna give it a 3. It's a solid card. You're gonna run it in all of your blue decks for sure, but I don't think I can give it a 3. It's perfectly acceptable. Eternal Skylord, blue 4, 3/3, zombie wizard. When it enters the battlefield, amass 2 zombie tokens you control have flying. So worst case scenario, you get a 5 mana 3/3 and a 2/2 flyer for 5. Not going to see any constructed viability here, but this card's nice. I'm going to give this like a 3.5 because I think you just end up splashing for this card a lot as well. It's not like a bomb, but it's just very, very solid. Especially if you have a decent zombie theme going on, so it's a good one. You'll splash for it. Put 2 on me. Yep, good enough for me. Blue 1, Fibble the Lost, 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. If it entered from your library or was cast from your library, draw 2 cards instead. When it becomes a target of a spell, shuffle it into its owner's library. Somebody's gonna find a home for this in limited, or rather in constructed, right? Somebody's gonna make this work. I'm gonna give it a 1.5. In limited? Sorry, Fibbles. I'm gonna give you a 1.5 down. It's not Dusk Legion Zealot though, right? Oh no, it is. It's only when it becomes the target. Sorry, I read that incorrectly. For some reason I think it was like a what's that dude? The red card. The guy that gets scared and just shuffles back with anything. You're right. Norin. I was thinking it was more like Norin. I didn't read that correctly. You're right. This is definitely more playable. And it also can, well, rarely I would say, come back. It's like a 2 then. I'll play this in all my blue decks, but I don't think I'm reading this incorrectly. It's like a 2 or a 2.5. You play this in your blue decks and that's it. Bluish Visionary, exactly. Not exciting though. Finale of Revelation, blue X. Draw X cards. If X is 10 or more, instead shuffle your graveyard into your library, draw X cards, untap 5 lands, and you have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. Man, the problem with this card in constructed is that it's a sorcery. It taps you out. I'm gonna give maybe a 2 instead of a 1.5, but I don't think this is really the standard card you're looking for. Oh yeah, EDH, nice. Sure, it doesn't tap you out sometimes, but I don't think this is the standard card you're looking for. Again, I'm basically giving these ratings based on a standard overview and not a constructed in general. Maybe I should say standard instead of constructed then, but I'm gonna give it a 2 for constructed. Limited, however, even Opportunity Sorcery Speed is a nice card. The thing is, with limited, when are you ever gonna get to X's 10? Reasonably. Not very often, unless you're me. So, this is not the bomb you think it is, right? But 4 mana to draw 2 cards is not bad. 5 mana to draw 3 cards, now you're talking. 6 mana to draw 4, okay, Sorcery Speed Opportunity. So, I'm gonna give this a limited 3. It's a good one. It's a solid blue draw spell in limited. That's all it is. Nothing more. Blue 2, Flux Chandler. This is a 2/2. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, proliferate. Alright, this has potential. I'm gonna give this a constructed 2, maybe a 2.5, just because I want this to do something good. I don't think it's going to, but I'm really hoping that somebody breaks it in standard. In other formats, sure, older formats. Well, maybe not older formats. No, maybe I should just give this a 2 and not a 2.5. I want this to be good. I'm just gonna put it like that. I want this to be good. But I don't think it's going to be all that great. In limited, this is probably the same boat as limited. It's a gray ogre that's gonna randomly get you upside every once in a while. Again, most decks are gonna have at least 1 planeswalker. And I guess depending on how many planeswalkers that you end up getting, this could even be like a 3. if I had like 4 planeswalkers in my deck, this card would be like an A+, right? Just because a lot of the planeswalkers only have minus abilities, and even getting 1 proliferate on them is going to give you an extra activation. Oh yeah, you're right. If only there was a rating between 2 and 3. Fine. I'm just saying it's variable. I'm just saying it's variable. That's all. Alright, God Eternal Kefnet. Blue, blue 2, 4/5 flyer. You may reveal the first card you draw each turn as you draw it. Whenever you reveal an instant or sorcery card this way, copy that card and you may cast the copy. That copy costs 2 less to cast. When it dies, it's okay. So it has the other ability as well. So it's a 4/5 flyer. Reveal the first. Whenever you reveal an instant, copy that card and you. I'm gonna give this a 3 for constructed. You have to reveal an instant or sorcery, and you still technically have to pay. It is a big card in, or a big booty though, right? It's a 4/5 flyer for 5 as well. I think this is like a constructed 3. I'm not really seeing it, but it might find a home. It might get a little bit better. Limited 4/5 flyer for 4 is already itself pretty crazy. That's like a base 4 standalone. I don't think the reveal instant or sorcery is going to come up too often in limited. Obviously, you might randomly get it, but the fact that you can keep recurring it is certainly nice. This is not as good as Oketra, in my opinion. I gave 5 to a 2/2 flyer for 3. I certainly did not. What? The blue 2/2 flyer for 3? I think I gave that a 3. Don't lie to me. But yeah, I'm gonna give this a 4 in limited. Maybe a 4.5. I don't know. It's very good. I don't know. These are... Oh, no. Wrong card. These are all very good. All the God Eternals are pretty nice. Right? They're just way above their mana curve. This one's ability is certainly less relevant than Oketra's. So... that's my thought there. Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, blue, blue, blue 1. 4 loyalty. If you would draw a card while If you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead. Okay, so that doesn't seem super relevant often enough. Target player puts the top 2 cards of their library into their graveyard. Draw a card. Alright, that's like a mill 3 already. -8, draw 7 cards. Then if your library has no cards in it, you win the game. Is this going to be a constructed card? I kind of want it to be. I'm going to give it a 2. I don't think it's going to be particularly good. But I want this to be... I want to believe. Let's just put it like that. I want to believe. Limited, it is a planeswalker, and you can accrue a ton of card advantage with this. You have to play heavy blue, though. That's the thing. Triple blue is very hard to play. So, even though this is going to be pretty easy to mill out your opponent in limited with this card, I don't think I can give it higher than a 2.5 just on its mana cost. It doesn't protect itself. It does draw cards, which maybe is pseudo-protection, but... don't think it's good enough. Right, that's what I'm saying. You mill your opponent for 2 and you draw your card. That's what I'm saying. You can mill your opponent out a lot of the time. Dude, these trucks, don't they know it's set review day? Please. Alright, blue and 2, Jace's Triumph, draw 2 cards. If you control a Jace Planeswalker, draw 3 cards instead. Okay, so it's Divination. It's baseline Divination, which we'll see some amount of play, I think, in Constructed. Probably not a lot. I'm gonna give this a 2, maybe a 1.5. Limited, it's just solid. I'm gonna maybe give it a 3, maybe a 2.5. 3 is probably on the top end of things. I feel like Divination is better than a 2.5 Unlimited, but not by much. So Again, unexciting, but fine. Kaz Mina, Enigmatic Mentor. Whoever previewed this card is probably super handsome and sexy and really smart and doesn't have a tumor. Blue and 3, 5 loyalty. Spells your opponents cast that target a creature or planeswalker you control cost 2 more to cast. -2, create a 2/2. This card is just great. I certainly hope it finds a constructed home. I think it's good enough. The lootability and the fact that, you know, after you've minus twice, she just kind of sits around and makes your things very hard to deal with. I think this is at least a 3 in limited. Maybe a 3.5, honestly. This is just such a good card in limited. And if you get to proliferate at all, oh baby. Kaz Mina's great. This is one of the planeswalkers you're always going to want. Uncommon planeswalkers you're always going to want. So. Also, her staff is Emrakul. Kaz Mina's transmutation, blue and 1. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature loses all abilities and has base power and toughness. 1/1. So, I think we'll see this in constructed sideboards. You know, it deals with Niv Mizzet, for example, very, very well for the blue decks. In limited, this is just another very solid removal spell. It's not great, but it's definitely solid. I'm gonna give it a 3 in limited here. Just good removal that you're always gonna take for blue. Kiora's Dam Breaker, 5 and a blue for a 5/6. When it enters the battlefield, proliferate. So 6 mana, 5/6. Well, no constructed viability and probably like a 1.5 in limited if I had to say. Maybe a 2. Maybe a 2. 2's at the top end, but probably a 1.5. Not very exciting. Lazar Plating, blue and 1. Amass 1 instant. You and permanents you control gain hexproof until end of turn. Will this see constructed play? I don't think so. It seems unlikely, but maybe I'm just going to give this a 1.5 just in case. Will the mono blue decks run this card? Maybe. Maybe. How is this card in limited? Amass 1 instant for 2 mana. Not very exciting. You and permanents you control gain hexproof until end of turn. That's honestly probably good enough to give it like a 2 or a 2.5 in limited. Like it's a protection spell that also just gets you a small amount of value. So, not a terrible card in limited. 2.5 is probably too high though. Naga Eternal, blue and 2 for a 3/2. Alright. There you go. You'll play this in your decks as a filler 3-drop. And that's about it. Narset, Parter Avails, blue 1, 5 loyalty planeswalker. Each opponent can't draw more than 1 card each turn. So, largely irrelevant effect in limited. In constructed, let's see, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a non-creature, non-land card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. I'm pretty sure you're going to need way too many non-creature, non-land cards to really make this a thing. Maybe I should give her a 2. But if anywhere, she's going to find a home in constructed over limited. Limited? Sorry, Narset. This is just not good enough. Again, I'm predominantly talking about constructed, but yeah, Narset's not a very good one. All right, and her reversal now, blue. Copy target instant or sorcery spell, then return it to its owner's hand. You may choose new. Ooh. Oh man, I'm digging this card in constructed. I'm gonna give this at least a 2.5. Copy target instant or sorcery spell, then return it to its owner's hand. You may choose new copies or new targets for the copy. That seems pretty sweet. I'm gonna give it 2.5 in constructed, and honestly, in limited, if you're like copying an opponent's removal spell and then bouncing it to their hand, that's a huge swing as well. Alright, I'm gonna give it 2.5 across the boards. That seems fine. Blue and 2, instant, counter target creature or planeswalker spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. Scry 1. This is probably a 2, maybe a 2.5. I think people are going to run this in Constructed. In Limited, I mean, I don't think this is bad in Limited. This looks perfectly fine. Your opponents are always going to have a creature, and they're often going to have a planeswalker. I don't think the exile is going to be relevant here, but at least you also get a scry out of the deal. Also, how loud is that noise? How loud is that noise out there? Should I turn up the noise gate? You guys have to tell me how loud it is outside. Blue and 3, Relentless Advance. Amass 3. Nope. 4 mana 3/3 or 4 mana make your dude bigger. Yeah, it's probably fine. I'm just gonna give this a 2. I don't think a Hill Giant deserves any more than a 2, and obviously you can make a different zombie larger, but it's not gonna get better than that. Rescuer Sphinx, blue 2, creature Sphinx, 3/2 flyer. As it enters the battlefield, you may return a non-land permanent you control to its owner's hand. If you do, it enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it. All right, so no, not really any constructed viability, but this is a nice one for. This was a nice one for Limited. Even as just a 3/2 flyer for 4, it's not terrible. If it's a 4/3 and you're bouncing like some value permanent, it's really going to depend on what's getting bounced or if you can bounce something. I don't think this is a top pick, but it definitely has some nice synergies. Like, exactly, bouncing your planeswalkers after you use them twice and they're just sitting on the battlefield. Yeah, I like it. No, it's not destroy target army, because you're returning it that you control, so you don't want to bounce your own armies. If it was a bounce any non-land permanent, this would be like a 4, but not quite. Not quite. Silent Submersible, blue, 2/3, vehicle. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, draw a card. Crew 2. Now, just remember the days of Smuggler's Copter. Please, everybody think of Smuggler's Copter just for a second, and then compare it to this. What the heck? Blue, crew 2? Doesn't even have flying. What is this crap? I'm going to play it in blue decks in Limited. I'm not going to take it very highly in Draft, but I'm going to take it, once it comes around. I'm being kind in Limited with a 1.5. This card is sad. Sky Theater Strix. This is a 1/2 flyer for a blue and 1. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Sky Theater Strix gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Kind of want to like those weird prowess creatures. Probably not going to see any constructed play, although I doubt, or at least I seriously doubt it in Standard. Maybe though. Maybe some weird Kiln Fiend-like deck. They're literally right outside the window, banging. Some dudes outside the window banging. Jesus. Limited. Yes, still not very good. Oops. Probably like a 1.5 at best. Yep, bad card. Bad card. Spark Double. Oh, yes, this one I know is good. Blue and 3, Illusion. You may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of a creature or planeswalker you control, except it enters with an additional 1/1 counter on it if it's a creature, or an additional loyalty if it's a planeswalker, and it isn't legendary if that permanent is legendary. I'm not sure how about for constructed. I'm just going to give it like a 2. Maybe a 1.5 in constructed. But in Limited, I think this is at least a 4, right? This is always just going to be a copy of the best thing on the battlefield, creature or planeswalker, plus a little bit bigger. plus a little bit bigger. So even if you're just copying one of your uncommon planeswalkers, that, again, 1 extra loyalty. Oh, wait. Oh. No, okay, you control. Alright. Now I'm less excited about this card. It's still good, don't get me wrong, it's still good. I thought it was literally just a better clone. Yeah, I thought it was a better clone. I was incorrect. Sorry. Put that in my pipe and smoke it, as Riley would say. It's still a good card. Okay, so it's the best, it's a better copy of your best creature or planeswalker. It's going to be very awkward when you're behind or you draw this on like an empty board, but the upside is there. So I'm just gonna give this a baseline 3. Baseline 3. All right, Spellkeeper Weird, blue and 2 for a 1/4, 2 in sack, and tap. Return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. All right, this has like no constructed viability. Too slow, not relevant enough. Maybe a 1.5 or a 2 in a limited. It's a horned turtle with some random upside, but I don't think it's very impressive, so there you go. Stealth Mission, blue and 2, sorcery, put 2 1/1 counters on target creature. Wait, put 2 1/1 counters on target creature you control. That creature can't be blocked this turn. That's interesting. All right, no constructed home here, I think, but I kind of like this. I kind of like this card in limited. I'm gonna give this at least a 2.5. I kind of want to give it a 3. This makes a creature huge. You get in for probably a decent bit of damage on the turn you cast it, and then it has +1/+1 counters for the proliferate. Wow, I think I'm giving this a very high rating for sure. I'm giving this a very high rating, but I like this card. Yeah, it can often just end the game. I'm gonna give this a 2.5. Not bad. Tamio's Epiphany, blue and 3, scry 4, then draw 2 cards. This might honestly find, well, maybe not constructed, but scry 4 is a lot of scry. I'm gonna give it a 1.5 for constructed. I like this card in limited. I like this card a lot. It's at least a 3 in limited. It might even be a 3.5, honestly. And normally I'm one to overvalue card draw effects, but this is a lot. Scry 4 is huge. So, good card. I would probably play as many of these as I picked up in limited. Or at least the first 3 or 4. 4 might be a stretch, but this card's great. I'm gonna want to run this in like, I'm gonna want to build like 5 color decks and have like 4 of these. Anyway. Teferi's Time Twist, blue and 1 instant, exile target permanent you control. Return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next unstep. If it enters the battlefield as a creature, it enters with an additional 1/1 counter on it. There's this white card that also does this from like, well, it was reprinted in Modern Masters. I don't remember the name. Otherworldly Journey, I believe, is the name. I don't think this is going to see much play in constructed. I don't think this is terrible in limited, although I don't think it's very good. 2.5 might be a stretch. It's probably closer to a 1.5. Yeah, I think Otherworldly Journey is instant. You do get to save some permanents. You get to reset some permanents as well. It does reset planeswalkers, as it is just a plane or exile target permanent. But you would need a lot of walkers for you to want to run this just because of the planeswalkers. Yeah, it's like a 1.5, maybe a 2. Maybe a 2. Thunder Drake, that's a cool name. Blue and 3, 2/3 flyer. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, put a 1/1 counter on Thunder Drake. All right. 4 mana, 2/3 flyer. That's close. That's close to a good rate. Obviously, you want like a 3/3 flyer for 4 unlimited is pretty darn good, but this does, or this can get out of hand rather quickly. I think this is probably at least a 2.5. At least a 2.5. I don't think I would be comfortable giving it a 3, and certainly not a 3.5, but if you just get one counter on it, it starts going. So, always gonna play this in your blue decks. Totally Lost. All right, a reprint, instant. Pawtucket non-land permanent on top of its owner's library. It's just a 2. You run one of these, maybe 2, if you really need some type of interaction. It's not especially great. Maybe if you're running one of those random mill cards, Jace, for example, but then you have a Jace already, so that's not relevant. There's also that the mill 4 card, put the 2 instants and sorceries in your hand, but mostly filler. Wall of Ruins, okay, blue for an 0/4. When it enters the battlefield, scry 1. It's strangely satisfying seeing an undead killing machine from another world standing befuddled in front of a wall of text. It's a funny picture. Yeah, this is at the very best sideboard chaff in limited. It's probably honestly better in constructed. Bring it in versus some aggro deck, but yeah, the thing is the defender deck going to be good? And I don't think so, which is why I'm not, giving it a higher rating in constructed. No, it's much worse than Wall of Omens. Much worse. All right, and that thus ends the blue cards for now.